When we picture a samurai, we imagine a fearsome warrior clad in intricate, menacing armor, wielding a razor-sharp katana beneath the blooming cherry blossoms of feudal Japan. We think of a phantom on the battlefield, bound by an unwavering code of honor known as Bushido, willing to die or even take his own life at the command of his lord. Yet this cinematic image only captures a fraction of who the samurai actually were. For over 7 centuries, these elite figures were not merely soldiers. They were political rulers, administrators, scholars, poets, and artists. They evolved from ruthless, mounted horse archers into refined, suit-wearing bureaucrats who governed a peaceful nation without ever swinging a sword in anger. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the true history of the samurai. How they fought, how they lived outside of combat, and how they transformed from bloody warlords into the master architects of modern Japan. The story of the samurai is an epic saga spanning over 700 years of Japanese history. Their origin traces back to the late 8th century, during the Heian period, when wealthy landowners in the provinces hired private military clans to protect their estates and collect taxes. Over time, these local provincial warbands grew so powerful that they began to rival the imperial court in Kyoto. By 1192, a military commander named Minamoto no Yoritomo established the Kamakura shogunate, establishing a military government that effectively placed the military class in control of the country. This marked the official birth of the samurai as Japan's ruling elite. Their reign continued through centuries of brutal civil warfare until the unification of Japan in 1603 under the Tokugawa shogunate, which brought 2.5 centuries of total peace. The samurai era finally came to an end in 1868 during the Meiji Restoration, when Japan rapidly modernized, abolished the feudal class system, and banned the wearing of swords, officially dissolving the samurai class into history. Now let's discuss the reality of samurai warfare. Popular culture leads us to believe that the samurai fought primarily with the katana in dramatic one-on-one duels. In reality, battlefield tactics were vastly different and far more pragmatic. In the early centuries, the samurai were primarily mounted archers. A samurai's primary weapon was the Yumi, an asymmetrical longbow made of bamboo and wood, shot from horseback with deadly precision. They viewed archers as the pinnacle of military skill, and combat often involved shouting one's noble lineage before firing arrows at worthy opponents. As infantry tactics took over in the 14th and 15th centuries, the long spear, yari, became the dominant battlefield weapon. Massed formations of spear-wielding warriors dominated the landscape. The iconic katana and its longer counterpart, the tachi, were actually sidearms, the combat equivalent of a sidearm pistol, reserved for close-quarters fighting, indoor encounters, or when a primary weapon broke. When firearms, tanagashima, were introduced by Portuguese traders in 1543, the samurai did not reject them as dishonorable. Instead, they recognized their terrifying effectiveness, manufactured their own, and deployed massed matchlock musket units that completely revolutionized Japanese warfare. Samurais were more than just soldiers, however. A samurai's life was defined by the philosophy of bun and bu, the balance of the literary arts, bun, and the military arts, bu. A warrior who knew only fighting was considered an uncultured brute. Outside of combat, high-ranking samurai spent immense time cultivating their minds and aesthetic tastes. They practiced shodo, calligraphy, studied classical poetry, and engaged in chado, the Japanese tea ceremony. The tea ceremony was particularly crucial. It provided a quiet, serene environment where rival warlords could lay down their weapons, cultivate humility, and discuss politics in private. Samurai were also deeply influenced by Zen Buddhism and Confucianism. Zen taught them mental focus, composure in the face of death, and present-moment awareness. Confucianism, meanwhile, instilled strict loyalty to authority, filial piety, and social order. Furthermore, samurai acted as judges, police officers, and estate managers within their domains, maintaining order among the lower classes of farmers, artisans, and merchants. The history of the samurai is marked by 3 distinct eras, during which their roles, equipment, and societal purpose underwent radical transformations. Enjoying the video? Please subscribe to never miss an historical breakdown. Let's start with the early period, 8th, 14th century, mounted elite. During the Heian and Kamakura periods, samurai were a small aristocratic military elite. Warfare was individualistic and highly ritualized. During this era, they were expected to protect private estates, quell rebellions, and serve as the personal bodyguards of regional lords. They wore oyoroi, great armor, heavy, boxy suits constructed from hundreds of small leather and iron scales laced together with silk cords. These suits were specifically designed to absorb the shock of arrows while shooting from horseback. Their primary weapons were the asymmetrical longbow, Yumi, and the curved tachi sword suspended edge down from the belt. Now onto the Sengoku period, 1467–1603. Mass warfare and chaos. Known as the Warring States period, this was an era of total, relentless civil war. The breakdown of central authority meant that anyone who could fight and command men could rise to power, regardless of birth. Samurai were fighting in massive, coordinated armies consisting of tens of thousands of troops. Warfare shifted from aristocratic duels to industrial-scale military campaigns involving siegecraft, naval assaults, and complex logistics. To adapt to fast-paced infantry movement and musket fire, their armor evolved into domaru and tosei gusoku, modern armor. These suits were lighter, cheaper to produce, and featured solid plate steel breastplates to stop musket balls. The bow was largely replaced by the long spear, yari, and matchlock firearms. The sword evolved into the shorter katana, worn edge-up tucked into the sash, obi, allowing the warrior to draw and strike in a single fluid motion. Finally, the Edo period, 1603–1868. The bureaucratic age. After Tokugawa Ieyasu unified Japan and established the Edo period, the country entered 250 years of complete peace. There were no foreign wars, no civil conflicts, and no battlefields left to fight on. The samurai underwent their most dramatic transformation during this period. They became civil servants, administrators, tax collectors, scholars, and bureaucrats. With no battles to fight, the state paid them a fixed salary in rice, koku, simply to maintain their status and keep records. The code of Bushido was formalized during this time, ironically written by men who had never seen real combat, idealizing a romanticized past. Heavy battlefield armor became obsolete, stored away in family chests as heirlooms. Instead, samurai wore formal silk robes, hakama and haori. Weapons changed drastically as well. Firearms were heavily restricted, and spears were kept at home. Instead, samurai wore the daisho, a matching pair of swords consisting of the katana and the shorter wakizashi. Wearing these dual swords became a legal privilege exclusive to the samurai, acting not as battlefield weapons, but as symbols of their authority, moral responsibility, and noble status. When the Meiji Restoration brought an end to feudalism in 1868, the samurai class officially ceased to exist. Their lands were returned to the emperor, their rice stipends were converted into government bonds, and their right to carry swords in public was permanently banned. Some former samurai led tragic failed rebellions, while others seamlessly transitioned into political leaders, military officers, and titans of modern Japanese industry. Though the samurai disappeared, their spiritual imprint on the world remains profound. The concept of wa, harmony, the relentless pursuit of perfection in craftsmanship, and the deep sense of duty and discipline that defines modern Japanese society all trace their roots directly back to the samurai ethos. The samurai were never just simple killers with swords. They were a dynamic class that adapted to every major shift in their nation's history, shifting from mounted archers to tactical generals, and finally to educated statesmen. They proved that true strength lies not just in the ability to wield a blade, but in the discipline to build a lasting civilization when the dust of battle finally settles. Thanks for watching. Please support us with a like and comment.